Alright, today we're going to create a vector goldfish, and so I'm going to create a new document, and I'm going to choose web as my document, 800 by 600, and there's my document. And what I'm going to do is put in a picture of a goldfish that's already been traced, so I'm going to place my goldfish picture, and I'm going to make it a template. So I'm going to go ahead and hit place, and there's the goldfish right there. He's not quite inside the borders of our picture though, so I'm just going to move him. Oop. Let's see, I need to see my layers. I'm going to unlock him and move him inside my document here. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and lock him again. Now in layer 1, I'm just going to rename it by double clicking it, and I'm going to name this body because that's going to be where our body resides. So with my pen tool and no fill and a stroke, and I'm just going to make my stroke rather large. I'm going to do the 3-point just so that I can see this nicely. I'm going to trace this fish. So go ahead and click, and we're going to trace around the shape of this fish. And yet remember, every time we make a curve, we're going to get rid of this midpoint so that that doesn't get in our way and start making all sorts of crazy curves that we don't want. So go ahead and just use the pen tool, go around the fish, make sure that you go along the lines. And every time there's a major curve is where you really want to put or start your next line. So here's the major curve, and it starts to swoop around the other direction. So I'm going to go to the basically the top of the little hill here to make my next selection. Alright, so our body is completed. We just have this little lip down here. I'm going to select nothing, and then I'm going to grab my pen tool and just get this lip in here really quick. And I'm going to close it off. Alright, so there is our body. Now I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to name this fins. So there's our fins layer, and go ahead and use your pen tool again, and we're going to trace the fins. So go ahead and trace those. Get rid of that line there so we don't get that curves that we don't want. Make sure you rotate this until it's going right along the line of your original sketch. Alright. Whoops. Undo that. I'm going to use my selection tool, select nothing, and then grab my pen tool for the next one. Select nothing in between each time that you do a fin. And take your time with this. I'm going rather fast, but just use the pen tool wisely so you're not just making some mess. Make sure that the lines go right over the lines that you're going on with the fish. Oop. Select, deselect, and I'm going to do the tail now, last part. And I'm actually going to just do one part of the tail. You can see that it splits into two pieces, but I'm actually going to just pretend like it's only one piece, and we're going to duplicate this later. So go ahead and come down here, and good. So I'm going to leave this piece off for now. And I'm going to swoop this one back and forget about this piece for now. We are going to do that piece later, but not right now. And make sure you come back around and complete the tail. Select nothing. Alright, good. So we got all the fins done. Now I'm going to make another layer, and I'm going to name this one eyes and gills. this is where we're going to do our eyes and gills, obviously. And I'm actually going to do that after I've colored the body part, so just leave this layer alone for now. And I'm going to lock the two layers other than body. I'm only going to work on body right now. So I'm going to switch my stroke to be a fill instead, so no stroke and a fill, and I'm going to use in my swatches here, and if you don't have your swatches you can come to window, make sure that swatches is up, and I'm going to use this orange color right here, actually this one right here, and I'm going to use my rectangle my rectangle tool, sorry. I'm going to switch these, no stroke. Okay, make sure that orange is selected and that there's no stroke. I'm going to draw a box around the body so that the body is completely covered. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my path here so that that's selected. So I would just opened up this little arrow here and it dropped down all the things that I've done to this layer so far. And I'm going to select right here the path of my body, and of the body of the fish that is, and I'm going to select this rectangle here too at the same time. Now in order for us to make this work, I'm actually going to move the path below the orange square, below our path for our fish. I'm going to hold shift and click both of them so that both of them are simultaneously selected. Now if I right click and go to make clipping mask, we see that the fish body is orange now and everything else went away, which is exactly what we want. Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to place those eyes and gills. So I'm going to lock my body layer and I'm going to unlock my gills and eyes layer. And I'm going to take my magnifying glass and zoom in on the place that the eye and the gills are supposed to be. Let me go ahead and turn the eyeball off of the body, and there's where my eye is supposed to be. And I'm going to go to my eyes and gills layer. So I'm going to put the eye roughly in this spot right here. So I'm going to choose as my color, my first color that is, I'm going to choose this kind of maroon color, and I'm going to get underneath my rectangle tool, I'm going to get my ellipse tool, and I'm going to look at the eye. The eye is an ellipse. It's not a circle. It's kind of like egg-shaped. And I'm going to look at the top of the eye and the side of the eye, where those 2 points meet. And if it gets squared off, that's where I'm going to start my ellipse drawing. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to make my first part of the eye right here. Okay? So there's the first part of the eye. Now I'm going to use my select tool, and I'm going to hold Option on the keyboard, Alt or Option, and I'm going to make another copy of this and pull it aside. Because this eye is going to have a lot of different different layering. And I'm going to, with my selection tool, come up to the top and hold shift, and I'm going to shrink this down just slightly. And I'm going to use a gradient on here. I'm going to do a gradient, let's see, this kind of tan color. And I'm going to gradient to this darker tan color. Oh, they're both the same. Light tan color, that is. So I'm actually going to do a lighter tan color right here. There we go. And I'm going to move that right here so that it's covering my eye. And then I'm going to make the white of the eye, so I'm going to select this again and hold Option, and I'm going to make a copy of this, and I'm going to make this white. And I'm going to hold shift and shrink it down again a little bit, and I'm going to move it back over my eye again. And there's the white of my eye. Now I'm going to select it one more time. I'm going to hold, well actually we're going to do this one more time after this, but I'm going to hold Option, I'm going to make another copy of this, and I'm going to shrink it down. And I'm going to make it black, and this is going to be the dark part of the eye. Actually, let's make that a little bit larger. So there's our eye, looking kind of interesting. And I'm going to hold Option one more time, bring this up here. I'm going to make this really small, and I'm going to turn it white. And I'm going to put it over the eye like so. And we got the little lens flare of the eye here. Let's see how that looks. Okay, kind of cartoony, but that's fine. This is kind of what we want to go for. And so there's the fish eye. Now I'm going to make the gill. So I'm going to use my pen tool, and I'm going to use the same color as this maroon color for the gill. And I'm just going to do it as a fill. And I'm going to click, and I'm going to click down here, and I'm going to make a... I think I'm actually zoomed in a little bit too much, so I'm going to push Control Z or Command Z to undo. There we go. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, and I'm going to use my pen tool, and I'm actually going to do a stroke instead of a fill at first. Oops, making all sorts of mistakes. There we go. Okay, so stroke instead of a fill. I'm going to click and make my first gill. And I'm going to click the middle here, and I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to make this kind of thin crescent moon looking thing just like so. There we go. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to swap these, and so now I've just got a fill right there. I'm going to select nothing. Alright, I got the gill done. Great. Let's move on. Okay, so I'm going to turn the eye back on for the body. And on the body layer, I'm going to lock my eyes and gills because I'm done. But on the body layer, I'm going to unlock it, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to use my gradient mesh tool. And what this does is it creates points where we can change the color on our fish. So our fish is looking pretty one-dimensional. So I'm going to click here on the gradient, and actually I already have a gradient up because this is the last color that we used, and so it's creating a gradient of this reddish color. But I actually want to use yellow, so I'm going to select this point, and let's see. Choose yellow. Whew. And I'm going to create a couple more gradients. Okay. So here's the points in our gradient, and I'm going to select these points, and I'm going to come up and I'm going to turn just part of this thing the color that we want. And so I'm going to make another gradient here, and I'm actually going to turn it back to the orange color that we are looking at. And so every time you click on a point, you can turn off and on the color that you want it to be. So I'm going to click this point, and I'm going to make it white. And so now we've got a white stripe. And I'm going to click right here to make a new gradient path. I'm going to go back to my orange color, and I'm going to click here as well and go to my orange color. And that way I'm going to get kind of this yellow color. If I click here again and choose yellow, the yellow stripe continues. And if I click here, the yellow stripe will go down to here, but I'm actually going to choose white so that there's a white stripe. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to choose the yellow again. And I'm going to click here so that I can close off this yellow color with the original orange color. So I just want a couple of stripes of yellow and white. And you can actually even curve these gradients. I'm going to curve this back one by clicking and dragging. And so right here we're going to create yellow again, and right here I'm going to turn it back to the orange color, and right here I'll turn it back to the orange color. Very good. And right here I'll change it back to the orange color. And so you're basically just making a gradient. Every time you click on one of these points, you can change the way that the color looks around it by just changing the colors up here on your swatches. And so I'm just messing with these and making it look like it's got some dimension to it by changing the colors to either lighter, darker, yellow, or white. And yellow and white are the highlight colors of our fish, and so that's the ones that I'm choosing. I don't want that to go all the way back white, so I'm going to change it back to orange. And let's see. This can be a little tricky. So I'm going to deselect, and oh, that movement of gradient isn't very good. I'm actually going to undo some mesh points here. I'm going to move some of these mesh points. This part will take some time. It's can be a little tedious, but we want a nice smooth transition with our gradient, so I'm just going to try and blend these two colors together. Make it look a little more organic this way. Let's bring this back to orange. Oop. My gradient tool. This point right here back to orange. It's a little okay, the key here is to blend, and so I've kind of blended this into a shape that I like. It's not the best. I probably wouldn't make this one so vibrant right here. I'd probably tone that down just a little bit and turn it back to an orange color, or maybe even this color. Yeah. But, you know, just give it some depth, give it a little bit of flair and color. And so we've got our body that just doesn't look so plain Jane. Okay, so now I'm just going to do the fins. And so for my fins, I'm going to unlock them and unlock the body. And my fins I'm going to select, and I'm going to turn off, or I'm going to swap the stroke with a fill. So now it's black, but I'm actually going to make this this orange color, actually this light orange color. And I'm going to turn the opacity down. So go to your transparency, I'm going to turn the opacity down to 50%. Let's see how that looks. I'm going to turn the eyeball off my template. Okay, yeah. We want them to kind of look translucent. So I'm going to click here and do the same thing, swap it for black, and I'm going to turn this on to orange, and I'm going to turn the opacity down to 50%. Same thing here. I'm going to switch, and I'm going to change the orange, and I'm going to take the opacity down to 50%. Alright. And the same thing with the tail. Okay, the thing with the tail is we had the two paths, and so what I'm going to do with the tail is I'm going to select it, and I'm going to hold Option, and I'm going to make a copy of it, and I'm going to rotate the copy slightly, and I'm going to rotate the original slightly as well, and I'm going to move the copy down so that it's overlapping the other one, just like that. So now we've got kind of a two fin looking thing here. And I'm going to grab my move tool, And what we're going to do next is I'm actually going to add a little bit of depth to these fins, or some texture I should say. So I'm going to grab my ellipse tool, and with the orange selected, I'm actually going to use the dark orange. I'm going to click up here outside of my image, and I'm going to make an ellipse that's 3 by 3. So there's our ellipse. It's kind of small, so I'm going to zoom in on it. I'm actually going to make this 4 by 4 instead. Alright. And I'm going to use my direct select tool, which is the white arrow, and I'm going to select this corner right here, just the right side corner of this shape. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to convert the selected anchor point to a corner. And I'm going to stretch this out, and I'm going to make a paintbrush out of it, but we're basically making this into a pointed, rounded object. So I'm going to hold Shift on the keyboard to make sure that this thing goes straight. And I'm going to pull this thing out so that it's a long, sharp point like that. And I'm going to use my regular selection tool, select which is the black one, select what we've just created, and I'm going to add this to my brushes, and my brushes are right here. If you don't see your brushes, you can go to Window, Brushes. My brushes are right here, so I'm actually going to drag this in just like so, and I'm going to make this a new art brush. Click OK, OK. And there's our art brush. Alright. So let me go ahead and scroll back down to the fish. I'm actually going to use my pen tool to only carve or trace, one side of this fin at first. And I'm going to select this piece and I'm going to apply this art brush, and there we go, that's more like it. Okay, I'm going to grab my pen tool again, and I'm going to come up here and make another side of the fin. And select the fin, and I'm going to use the art brush again. Oh dear, looks like it's the opposite of what I wanted. So I'm going to use my pen tool, and I'm going to come from the bottom up. So make sure you come from the bottom up. Oops. Okay. Select that, and I'm going to apply this. There we go. Now we've already done blend changes, and what we're going to do is make a blend options. We're going to go around specified steps, and let's do 16. I'm going to select here and hold Shift, select this side, go to Object Blend, Make. Oh dear. And this is what we should get after we've done the blend. So I'm going to select these two, and I'm going to go to my opacity, and I'm going to turn these down. Let's say to 60%. Let's see what that looks like when we zoom out. That looks pretty good. So we're going to do the same thing to the other fins that we have. So I'm going to zoom into this fin, and I'm going to grab my pen tool, and I'm going to select from here to there. Make sure it's a stroke. I'm going to make this the same kind of blend that we had, and I'm going to select nothing, and then I'm going to use my pen tool again, and I'm going to select here around to here. I'm going to use this again, and I'm going to use direct select here to move this so that it's more along the path that I need. Okay, we should already have our blending option. Let me see if this will happen. Hold shift, select both of these, go to object, blend, make, and it looks like we actually have too many on this one. So I'm going to go to object, blend, blending options. I'm going to bump this down to say 10. Let's see how this looks. Yeah, that's looking better. And I'm going to select this again, turn down the opacity to about 60%. Let's zoom out. Alright, looking pretty good. Let's zoom in on this one now. Not too much. Alright, use your pen tool, and we're going to make a new path right here. I'm going to do this kind of a path, select nothing, grab your pen tool again, come to this part of the fin. I'm going to come up here and finish that off, and I'm going to choose my paintbrush again. And let's blend these two together. Select this side with shift, go to object, blend, make. Alright. And last but not least is our tail fins. Okay, take your pen tool. I'm going to come to the middle of my fin here, and I'm going to come around and I'm going to use basically this brush that we just created the other fins with, and I'm going to select nothing. And then I'm going to use my pen tool again, and I'm going to come in to about here, the middle of the fin. I'm going to come around to this point, creating, I'll probably actually come around here first, and then come up to here. And I'm going to use my my paintbrush that I used before, and let's go ahead and select both of these, hold shift, and let's make another blend. Alright, now with this blend I'm actually going to hold option, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to move it down here, and I'm actually going to reverse the direction that it's going, like this, and I'm going to move it into place right here. Let me use direct select. And let's turn down the opacity of both of these to 60%. Okay, well, we actually need to do something with this mouth. I'm going to go to the eyes or actually no, the body. And I'm going to rotate this mouth a little bit underneath. Whoops. And I can actually use the arrow keys to move it into place. And I'm going to select it and change black to be on top. And I'm going to use this light orange color for the bottom. And I'm actually going to arrange it, and I'm going to send it backwards so that it's behind the fish. Alright, that's good. The last thing we're going to do is do a symbol spray. And so I'm going to go here to my symbol sprayer tool, and I'm going to go to symbols, and I'm going to go right here to the bottom button of my symbols. I'm going to choose other library, and I'm going to use artistic textures, and I'm going to use what's called a stipple large. So yours is going to be up here somewhere, so just scroll down and use stipple large, and I'm going to spray this as yellow. Actually, I'm going to choose a yellow, and I'm just going to spray some of these on like so, and then I'm going to double click my symbol sprayer tool, and I'm going to go to symbol stainer, click OK, and this is where I'm going to choose my yellow, and I'm going to stain all these yellow just like that. And let's just turn down the opacity of these slightly, 60%. Give us a nice subtle tone of gills. Let's zoom out of this. Okay, so here's our goldfish all ready to go. After you've done all the fins and the gills and the coloring, then you're all set to go with the eye and the mouth and ready to save. Save this as goldfish.